On the 29th of April 2011, the most talked about couple in the world tied the knot.
It was the real fairy tale, wasn't it? It was the real thing.
And since that day, it's been a whirlwind 12 months for Will and Kate. From taking part in the local pub quiz in Anglesey...
He actually turned to me and said, "Do you know what colour the Simpsons card is?" And I couldn't help myself. I said, "I think it's royal blue." And he laughed his head off when I said that.
I've loved being in Anglesey, and it's a beautiful place.
To their first official royal tour.
Merci beaucoup for votre excellence. It will improve as we go on.
Just what happens when you come face to face with a duchess?
I didn't know if I could touch, what I could touch. It ended up looking like I was playing Twister with her.
I personally thought it was absolutely phenomenal. And I think that they were just terrific, the two of them.
We'll find out what makes this twosome tick.
The fact that there is a passion there is a chemistry there, is very clear.
And hear how the world's favourite couple has won over everyone on their way.
They're just very normal. They're down to earth. They're caring.
They sort of identify with the ordinary working man.
We'll see them deal with Britain in turmoil.
The signal that they were sending out was that they care, that they understand.
And while the prince does his duty overseas...
In Argentina's capital, their chant is, "Get out of the Falklands."
We see the future Queen Consort flying solo.
I feel enormously proud to be part of East Anglia's children's hospices.
1 year on from their big day, this is the inside story of how William and Kate stole the nation's heart.
And now, as they say, lights, camera, action.
On Friday, the 29th of April, 2011, the eyes of the world focused on London and the fairy tale wedding of Prince William to Catherine Middleton.
William Wales and Kate Middleton were history of art students together at St Andrews University. Today, they are making history themselves. That's why we're all here.
1.5 million people flocked onto the streets of London.
Here at Hyde Park, we're expecting some 200,000 fans plus.
But at Westminster Abbey, only the chosen few had an invite.
The guest list reflected the world William and Kate inhabit, their own friends, the young and successful.
There was a tremendously buzzy atmosphere. People were, greeting each other, were pleased to see each other.
I got married in Westminster Abbey, and I would be terribly pleased if the atmosphere before my wedding was a patch on what theirs was.
With the supporting cast in place, at 11:01, the moment everyone had been waiting for arrived.
She is wearing brand Alexander McQueen. It is a wedding dress that has been designed, as was speculated, by Sarah Burton.
That dress just kind of nailed the right level between, the simplicity and the glamour. She just got it perfectly right.
The bride walked towards me, and it was just a very breathtaking and wonderful sight, really. It's such a beautiful dress. I dare say she did feel a bit nervous. I mean, who wouldn't at that particular moment? But there was no great sign of it at all. She seemed very calm and very together and utterly prepared for what was going to happen.
Around the world, 2.4 billion people watched as William and Catherine said, "I do."
Be who God meant you to be, and you will set the world on fire.
The families watched on with pride, but one very special person dear to Prince William was missing.
I felt a little heartbroken on the day that we weren't seeing Diana in the Abbey because she would have been loving every second.
I think Princess of Wales would have been, his mother would have been very, very proud of him.
The new royal couple, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge.
As hundreds of thousands of people made their way up the Mall to gather beneath the balcony, inside the palace, the two families were preparing for the official photographs.
They'd just come back from the Abbey, they'd just come back in that carriage, and then they came into the throne room. It was lovely listening to them all getting on and who was paying attention to what and whatever. It was great.
But for Hugo, the pressure was on.
We had officially 28 minutes from when they got back to the Abbey to when they had to leave the throne room.
With the clock ticking, Hugo had one last task, to get a shot of the bride and groom with their bridesmaids and pages. But he had a trick up his sleeve to get the children on his side.
I felt that jelly beans was probably a suitable bribe. With little people, you show them the jelly beans and say, right, we have got these jelly beans, they are for you, but we have got to do the job first. There was a bit of an ugly scramble for the jelly beans after the shoot. There's no doubt about that.
Outside Buckingham Palace, tension was building as the huge crowds waited for a glimpse of the newlyweds.
Oh, wow, she says. Oh, wow.
And there was one thing they all wanted to see.
And there you have the moment they had all come for, the kiss, this new tradition that you imagine has been going for hundreds of years, that was actually only invented by William's parents, Charles and Diana.
They did the kiss, you know, that first kiss, like, okay, let's get this one over. But it was the second one, which was the real humdinger. It was not rehearsed, it was spontaneous, and again, it showed the passion. Those two are not afraid to touch each other. Matter of fact, it looks like they like to touch each other.
Just days after playing starring roles on the world's stage, it was back to normal for the newlyweds as Catherine and William returned to their home in Anglesey.
Anglesey is a small island off of Wales. It's rather windswept. It's very remote. They live in a not excessively large cottage close to the sea, and they absolutely love it.
I mean, I've loved being in Anglesey, and it's a beautiful place. When the sun shines out, it's stunning, and the beaches here and the general life is great to settle in, and we are left alone. It's good.
I think William and Catherine relish their life in Anglesey. It's private, it's quiet. When they're up there, they're just Will and Kate.
They don't have a team of staff. It's something that they decided they didn't want to take on when they got married. They have a housekeeper, but it's Kate who does the shopping, the cleaning, taking out the garbage. She does all of those things.
While Catherine is busy homemaking, William's hard at work as a search and rescue pilot at RAF Valley.
Every day you come into work and you don't quite know what's going to happen. It's quite exciting in that sense. It's unpredictable. But at the same time, it's great that you get to go out and actually save someone's life, hopefully, or at least make a difference to someone, you know, when you know that they're in trouble.
Guys, you are clearing for the shots, please. We don't need the bathroom.
William has a full-time career in the Royal Air Force, and he's made it clear that that's a job that he wants to keep going with full-time as much as he possibly can, even for the next 2 or 3 years. Some reports have suggested even longer. He wants to be a serving Royal Air Force officer.
I mean, he's not messing around. Prince William's career is very, very important to him.
It was totally apparent to me straight away how important the job is, the general airmanship you need to have around you, and all the wits you need to survive the weather and whatever sort of situation you're thrown into. It definitely is advanced flying, and it's rewarding, so it put the two together and it's a fantastic job.
You could never accuse people of favouritising him because of who he was, because nobody would put other people's lives at risk and have a rescue sea helicopter going out with a man that didn't know how to fly it.
It's a tough job, and just like people all over the country, at the end of the day he likes to wind down by popping into his local for the pub quiz.
On the night William came in, I was actually in the kitchen, and one of the staff came through and said, "Prince William's here." And I said, "No, there's no chance." I sat on the table opposite him, and he was really friendly. He actually turned to me and said, "You know what colour the Simpsons car is?" And I couldn't help myself. I said, "I think it's royal blue." And he laughed his head off when I said that. He stayed right till the very end, and then I went over and thanked him for coming in, and he thanked me for a lovely evening and said that we'd see him again.
And the canny landlord could spot an opportunity when it presented itself.
I told everybody that Prince William had been, and I told them that he was coming the following Thursday as well. But
which you didn't know that
I
was
didn't
true,
know whether
did
it was true or not, so. But the following Thursday, the pub was very busy as well.
Kate and William enjoy life in Anglesey, away from their royal duties, but it won't last forever.
Things will change when they move to London, which will happen probably at some point in 2013. It's when they will have to give up their private part of their lives, and they will become full-time working royals.
For the time being, they can enjoy some quality time in Wales.
I think this is a wonderful opportunity for them both to have a life that's as normal as possible. And I think that this is, sadly for them, probably the short span of their life when they can really be like a normal person.
2 weeks into married life, the newlyweds swap the rugged beaches of Anglesey for their top-secret honeymoon destination. The tropical beaches of the Seychelles.
They'd said beforehand they wanted to go somewhere hot, and it's a young person's destination. The Seychelles fitted the bill. This was something a bit different, a bit younger, more akin to what people of their generation with a bit of money would do for a honeymoon, really.
They went to the Seychelles in 2007, post their temporary breakup. They had a fabulous time. William is reported to have said it's the best holiday he'd ever had. And so I think they were keen to go back somewhere that had really positive memories for them.
The couple settled down in their exclusive £4,000 a night villa on the uber-fashionable North Island.
What was great was that they could be safe and secure in a very remote part of the world on a little island. What more could you want?
After 10 days of taking in the sun, it was back to Britain and back to business.
The President and his wife Michelle were welcomed by the Queen and Prince Philip, and later met the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge.
Here was a moment which just illustrated the extraordinary leap she'd taken from being an ordinary member of the public to suddenly meeting the most powerful man in the world, the President of the United States.
She looked great, she was suntanned, glowing. I mean, I just love the fact that she wore a high street dress for that meeting. It kind of said it all, didn't it, that Reese dress?
The £175 dress sold out immediately.
The Duchess of Cambridge is an enormously powerful sales driver. As soon as she wears something, it sells right out. She has an immediate and instant effect.
From kicking back in her casuals to couture on the red carpet, all eyes are on the Duchess wherever she goes. And comparisons to Princess Diana are inevitable.
My impression is that she's trying very hard not to be the fashion plate that Princess Diana was. And Princess Diana was adored by the British fashion industry, and she loved wearing clothes. I think Kate was never particularly interested in fashion, never had any need to dress to be photographed. And now she suddenly finds herself thrown into the spotlight.
With Will and Kate on top of everyone's guest list, the world watches their every move.
This was the royals as glitterati. William and Kate could hardly have chosen a more opulent occasion for their official debut as a married couple.
When Kate stepped out of her limousine, my goodness, the Duchess, she dazzled. She looked absolutely stunning. She was wearing a Jenny Packham blush gown down to the ground, nipped in at the waist, and she literally sparkled.
She really looked like she was having a blast. And, you know, enjoying what you're wearing is a key to looking great in clothes. And I think that was one of the reasons why that dress was so successful, because she looked like she was really enjoying it.
While every one of Catherine's outfits hits the headlines, the fashion press waits with bated breath to see how her look evolves.
I think it was Yves Saint Laurent who said that fashion is passing and style is eternal. I would hope that the advisors that she had would steer her kind of clear of fashion. She's a young woman, so she can certainly nod to it, but style is more important.
As Kate starts to take on more and more royal duties, increasingly she'll be expected to showcase the British fashion industry.
I think as she's moving forward, she mustn't shy away from wearing some of those higher-end British designers, maybe putting some of them on the map. She is our future Queen Consort. We do like to see her looking spiffy and glamorous. And so far, she hasn't put a foot wrong, so hopefully that'll continue.
Coming up, William and Catherine take a trip across the pond.
Canada and the United States were a triumph, flawless.
And what does the newlyweds' body language say about them?
We were really witnessing a moment there between the two of them that clearly illustrated how in love they are.
Just 2 months after their wedding day, with the world under their spell, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge headed off on their first official overseas trip, which kicked off in Canada.
It was William and Kate present themselves to the world, and the world had an insatiable appetite for them after that wedding. Canada was a perfect choice because Canada does royal tours extremely well. It's had dozens of royal visits over the years.
There was a lot of pressure on them, and no one quite knew the reception that they were going to get, whether it would be one of anticipation, apprehension, would they fill the Queen's boots really as well as people might have hoped?
But there was no need to worry.
Canada went crazy for Kate this evening. The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge arrived in Ottawa, and big crowds turned out to see them.
Kaboom! Look up, what do you see? Rows and rows and rows of cameras. People shouting, Kate, Kate, look this way, look that way.
People had driven overnight to secure a good spot. They'd got there at 3:30 in the morning to make sure they were at the front of the guardrail so that they might get a photograph. And William and Kate did everything they could to see, touch, do a picture with as many people as humanly possible.
With so many people desperate for a piece of William and Catherine, it fell to one man to keep the royal show on the road.
On paper, my job was to be there at the right place at the right time. There's so many people involved. Everything has to be planned to the minute. But on site, when the Duke and Duchess is there, like, you need somebody that knows exactly what's going on and where people are supposed to go.
It was Jean's job to keep the couple on schedule, but he soon found out just who was in control.
At one point, we're 15 minutes late, so I squeaked out beside the Duke. I was like, "Sir, I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to go now." And I totally remember he turns towards me and he's like, "Jean, this is my first contact with Canadian. I want to take my time." So I was like, "Yes, sir." I backed off, and since then I say, I know what the tour is all about now.
Kicking off their 9-day trip in Ottawa,
Merci beaucoup pour votre excellence, and vous suivez le premier. It will improve as we go on.
the Duke and Duchess hit the road with a tour like no other, making Inuit speeches.
Merci cho, kay ya nukbuk.
That means thank you. Street hockey. and even Stetsons.
I think what they said to the Canadians is, look at us, we're not like royals that you've seen before. They're totally in touch with not being stuffy.
Every day there seemed to be something different. I mean, one day it was canoes or it was cooking with kids. You know, they just embraced everything.
By day 5, the newlyweds reached Prince Edward Island, and William took the controls of a Sea King helicopter for some extracurricular training. Landing a helicopter on water, or waterbirding as it's known, is a skill unique to the Canadian Air Force. And the Duke quickly picked up this new trick.
As it's coming around and the helicopter come to land, we look at each other, wow, this is not looking good. No, not looking good. We're just joking. You can see the Duchess looking at us. What do you guys mean it's not good? So we had a good fun on the side of the lake.
Having impressed everyone with his piloting skills, the Duke and Duchess took to the waves for a dragon boat race.
Well, I was walking down to the pontoon where they were getting in the dragon boat race, and I suddenly heard someone say, "Arthur, Arthur," and I looked round, and there she was. And I said, "Well, William says he's going to win," and she said, "In his dreams."
Both William and Catherine are very competitive, so I think for both of them it was game on.
Kate was steering originally as we went up the lake, but it was a very windy, tricky day. And so when we got to the top of the lake, I think she'd had her fill of steering. And so when I asked her if she would like to steer or paddle, she chose the paddling for the second half of the event. I stood up to switch positions, and then I was faced with a dilemma. I was looking eye to eye with the Duchess, and I didn't know if I could touch, what I could touch. It ended up looking like I was playing Twister with her because I was doing everything humanly possible within a 24-inch wide boat not to touch as we shuffled and changed position.
We were side by side. He was talking trash to the princess and sort of bragging that he was going to beat her and that sort of thing. He was paddling very hard. He was yelling, "They're gaining on us, let's go," that kind of thing.
She knew how to paddle it. She got a little splashed. Didn't affect her at all. She was paddling wonderfully the whole way. William's boat won the little race that we had, and certainly at the end of the race, he was very pleased to have been victorious.
One of our guys actually said to him, "Your Royal Highness, is this going to get you in trouble at home?" And he said, "There's no chivalry in sport."
What we saw with Catherine and William at the dragon boat race were two young people who really get a kick out of each other. She had that lovely little moment on the dock after they got off the boat where she tended to push him in, and then they held on to each other. It was lovely.
We don't often get to see royal public displays of affection, and we were really witnessing a moment there between the two of them that clearly illustrated how in love they are.
They are always touching each other. The fact that there is a passion there is a chemistry there is very clear. You know, they smile at each other. They flirt with each other. It's really cute to watch, and they're very sexy.
9 days and 8,000 miles later, the newlyweds had wooed Canada.
I think the trip to Canada was the most incredible success. I happened to say to somebody, I think it's quite fantastic how she's sort of taken to this like a duck to water. And somebody said to me, we knew it would be all right because of the way she reacted to the wedding. She was so calm about the wedding. She listened and she knew what she had to do, and so they were not astonished like me that somebody could get it so right the first time.
The hottest couple in the world had conquered Canada. But could they shine in Hollywood? The bright lights of Tinseltown beckoned.
This was them coming to La La Land, and they laid on everything. All the A-list celebrities turned out to pay homage to them.
With only 3 days to tour LA, their schedule was jam-packed, with everything from painting to a charity polo match. And as a winner, the prince was rewarded with a kiss.
There's a star-studded night ahead, a BAFTA reception and big names. Nicole Kidman, Tom Hanks, Jennifer Lopez. No doubt, though, who the real stars are going to be.
But I don't think it was until I got to the end of the red carpet, as the Duke and Duchess were about to arrive, that I suddenly realised what a big event this was. I walked up the red carpet with them, talking to them about the other things they'd been doing on the tour, and before we knew it, we were at the first lineup. I felt my role that night was to look after William and Kate. So many people wanted to meet them. We only had so much time. And so you'll probably see me in the background sort of hovering around, looking a bit tense.
It was very interesting watching everybody, because even Barbra Streisand, who's the queen of celebrities in America, was incredibly nervous meeting Catherine and William. Of everybody in that room, the one who looked most composed, the most comfortable, was William. Catherine was just beaming. It was like watching a child who had just entered this world of candy and wonder and splendor. She just couldn't stop smiling.
Here we are in Hollywood, where there are big events every night, you know, week in, week out, and yet this event was so special.
After a spellbinding performance worthy of an Academy Award, it was time for the royals to return home.
PR-wise, Canada and the United States were a triumph. Flawless. Nothing went wrong. The script couldn't have been written any better by Hollywood itself. It was flawlessly organised, the pictures were sensational, and William and Kate, as everybody can see, carried it off perfectly, really.
"12 days after their North American trip, Kate's wedding dress went on display in Buckingham Palace.
The Queen went to see the dress with the Duchess who made it famous.
But the dress provoked an unexpected reaction.
Horrid, isn't it? Without my face there. Horrible. Dreadful.
She wasn't talking about the dress being horrible. She was merely talking about the way that it was displayed.
It was just fantastic to see the Queen just talking normally and saying what she thought rather than what the spin doctors thought she ought to be saying.
Headline immediately, "It's horrible," says the Queen.
What it did do, it gave that exhibition such a boost, and I mean, record numbers went to see that dress. The numbers were huge.
Coming up, Birmingham gets a royal visit.
I think it's terribly important when there are disasters and tragedies that come out of the blue like that, that people realise that people of the royal family are thinking of them.
And Christmas at Sandringham.
I've done Sandringham for at least 20 years. Last year, the crowd was the biggest I've ever seen.
From the glamour of Hollywood to the gritty reality of the UK in turmoil. Just 5 weeks after their overseas tour, duty called for the Duke and Duchess.
Tension on the streets again. Hundreds of police on standby after mob violence last night left London burning.
In August, riots spread across the streets of Britain. And the royal family responded quickly. Prince Charles went to London, Prince Harry to Salford, and the Duke and Duchess visited one of the worst affected areas, Birmingham.
This week's series of royal visits was orchestrated by the Prince of Wales. Officials say he watched television coverage of the riots in dismay and immediately contacted his 2 sons to draw up a plan of action.
We expect them to be not only there when things are good, but to visit when times are bad. So the royal family are really at ground roots level, and you would expect them to be there, yes, absolutely. If you shy away from that, then you shy away from who we are and what happens to us as a nation.
For one community, the ultimate price was paid.
Shahzad Ali, his brother Abdul Musavir, and Sharoon Jahan were killed when a car ploughed into a group of men out in Winson Green.
In response to the tragic event, the Duke and Duchess held a private meeting with the grieving family.
It was a private family meeting. I'm grateful for the Prince and his wife for coming down. It was somebody like myself, I'm a nobody, and for them to come down, it was very, very touching.
I think it's terribly important when there are disasters and tragedies that come out of the blue like that, that people realise that people of the royal family are thinking of them.
It's hugely important for the royals to get out and get into the communities when bad things have happened. And all of this really goes all the way back to the Queen Mother. During the Blitz, she really rallied. She tried to get out and see Britons that were suffering.
William and Kate want to be seen to be in touch with real people. The signal that they were sending out was that they care, that they understand. And I think that's very important, and I think they've pulled that off really, really very well.
In November, they carried out their first humanitarian aid mission. They went to Copenhagen to visit UNICEF's headquarters, where they were packing supplies for Africa with the Crown Prince of Denmark and his wife.
A foursome of young European royalty here to champion the cause of Africa's dispossessed.
Well, I think it was initially a very big story. A lot of people did hear about it, but I think because it has been going on, people have perhaps lost track of the terrible situation. So I think this hopefully will put the light back on this crisis.
But it wasn't the East African crisis that made the headlines the next day.
They were offered a taste of a special peanut paste made for malnourished children. William tried some. His wife passed it on to the Danish royals.
That sent the rumour mill into overdrive that she was pregnant, because pregnant women are advised not to eat peanuts.
It wasn't the first or the last time that Kate would find herself in the middle of a pregnancy speculation storm.
I think before the ink had even dried on the register, the royal baby rumour mill had kicked off. But the things that kicked off these rumours were just astounding. Kate drinks water at a cocktail party. She's pregnant. She wears a loose-fitting gown. She's pregnant. She doesn't eat peanut paste. She's pregnant. One of the American tabloid magazines went as far as to say that her little rinky-dink clutch bag held in front of her stomach was hiding a bump. It's nonsense. They'll have a baby when they're good and ready.
Duke of Edinburgh is continuing his recovery in hospital tonight after missing the royal service at Sandringham for the first time.
With Prince Philip's illness overshadowing Christmas celebrations, the royals rallied round to support the Queen.
The Queen had 27 house guests at Sandringham this year. The whole family were there, which was fantastic.
It wasn't just the family that turned out, so did the crowds.
I've done Sandringham Church for at least 20 years, and I know about crowds. I've been there in the snow, I've been there in gales, I've been there in torrential rain, and I've been there when the sun's been shining. But last year, the crowd was the biggest I've ever seen.
Experiencing her first festive season at Sandringham, one of the biggest dilemmas facing the Duchess was what to pack for Christmas with the royals.
You'd probably get up in something and then put on something a little bit more robust and weatherproof to go out shooting, come back again, drenched wet, have a hot bath if you possibly can, change into something like a skirt or a clean pair of trousers for tea, and then change again for dinner. So that would be 4 changes in a day. It sounds ridiculous, but it's actually quite practical.
But it wasn't just her wardrobe that Catherine had to worry about. What do you give the family that has everything?
I mean, I think it's sort of somewhat looked down on to be very extravagant at Christmas, because I think the Queen probably rightly feels that if it's not sort of set at the witty and amusing level, that people will do more than perhaps they can afford.
Kate really, really got it this year because what she brought to the table to give to her new family were pots of homemade jam, and that went down a treat.
Coming up, Prince William flies into the eye of a storm.
In Argentina's capital, their chant is, "Get out of the Falklands."
And the Duchess makes one little girl's dreams come true.
We got a phone call to say that Amy had been nominated by Alder Hey to present the Duchess with flowers.
After their first Christmas together as royals, 2012 began with Catherine and William being separated. When the Prince was deployed 8,000 miles away in the Falkland Islands.
Falkland Islanders gearing up for the 30th anniversary of the Argentinian invasion are also getting ready for a working visit by Prince William.
Prince William will begin work at this windswept base within days, flying helicopters, living in basic accommodation.
Part of being a services family is separation. That's part of life for Kate, and I'm sure she knew about that. And it's what they want. It's part of the normality that they want.
He's arrived in the Falklands amid renewed tensions between Britain and Argentina.
In Argentina's capital, their chant is, "Get out of the Falklands." It's addressed to Prince William, who's just arrived there, but also to Britain.
I think William's time in the Falklands really presented a perfect opportunity for Catherine to step out and launch her solo career.
I don't know the ropes really. William was obviously used to it, but no, I'm willing to learn quickly and work hard. And
She'll do really well.
Yeah.
We'll do very well.
With William away serving Queen and country, Kate's solo career kicked off with a visit to the National Portrait Gallery.
In London's West End, a blizzard of Kate mania.
It was very straightforward. It was an arrival. The viewing of the art gallery was private, no cameras let in. There was a short receiving line, and she left. It went flawlessly. And from there, all the evidence was that flying solo was just fine as far as Kate was concerned.
With her first royal visit without William successfully under her belt, Kate's next visit was an altogether more public affair.
A warm welcome in Liverpool for the Duchess of Cambridge this morning at the start of her busiest day of solo engagements to date. First stop, a visit to a charity helping addicts to recover from drink and drug dependency.
On Valentine's Day, Catherine stepped out for her second engagement and she visited The Brink, which is the very first alcohol-free bar in Liverpool. It's run by another one of her patronages, Action on Addiction.
She'd done a lot of research and had come to the conclusion that addiction was at the root cause of so many problems in our society, and she felt that if you deal with addiction, you deal with all those other problems as well.
It's very important for them to be seen to be in touch with real gritty issues of the day, and the Addiction Centre does that.
With another visit close to her heart undertaken, Catherine's whirlwind tour of Liverpool took her to Alder Hey Children's Hospital.
Hospitals really are a forum where the royals excel. It's an arena where their presence is so appreciated.
The crowds turned out in force for a glimpse of the new Duchess. And for one little girl, the day was a dream come true.
We've been going to Alder Hey since she was 9 days old. She got diagnosed with a heart condition. We got a phone call to say that Amy had been nominated by Alder Hey to present the Duchess with flowers.
I felt very excited and very happy. She said she liked my coat and she said the flowers are very pretty, aren't they? To meet the princess, it was like a fairy tale.
The Duchess then continued her tour of the wards.
She's got a natural warmth
a dazzling smile, and she was halfway there before she ever started speaking to the patients, and the patients really responded to her. If she couldn't speak a lot about the medical condition, she found something else that they could speak about.
The boundaries that you perceive with a royal visit of time, they were broken, and Kate broke those down to spend time with the children.
She spent a lot of time talking to our patient. It was very touching. There was a buzz about the place, and it was really exciting. It was a great day.
With Kate, shades of Diana completely, totally at ease, sit on the bed, chat to a kid in hospital, big smiles all round, made his or her day. It's perfect. So, you know, she's got the touch, there's no doubt about that.
After a month on the road, meeting and greeting, lending her support, making people smile, hitting the odd hockey ball and handing out shamrocks to the Irish Guards, there was one royal duty Catherine still hadn't performed, and that was to make her first public speech. It was her biggest test yet.
When you have to make a speech that you know everybody's been looking forward to for weeks, known about it for weeks, and they know it's your first, I think it must be utterly terrifying.
She would have been very aware that had she messed up, that would have been the headlines the next day. Not what she said, not the work of the charity, it would have been Kate made a boob.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for not only accepting me as your patron, but thank you also for inviting me here today.
She did a fantastic job. She will have been greatly relieved to get the first one out the way.
I'm only sorry that William can't be here today. He would love it here.
She did very well, and I think now she's done the first one, it's onwards and upwards.
I feel enormously proud to be part of East Anglia's children's hospices and to see the wonderful, life-changing work that you do. Thank you.
William will find that the wife he once steered through public engagements like this is now more than comfortable in public on her own.
With Catherine having to perfect her skills all alone while William was away, at some events she had a wealth of experience to rely on.
In front of cheering crowds, the Queen began her Diamond Jubilee tour of the UK in Leicester today. A few paces behind the Queen, as ever, was Prince Philip. A few more behind him, their granddaughter-in-law Kate, learning the royal ropes from the experts.
The fact that the Queen invited Kate to join her for the Diamond Jubilee celebrations was really very, very touching and very special. I think it must have made Kate feel very welcomed into the royal family and very privileged.
The Queen and Catherine really have a very fond relationship. And I think the Queen looks at Kate and sees that she's the future, she's the Queen consort. It'll be many years before we see her in the top job alongside William, but there's no better way to learn than by doing it.
This is a family now that is actually genuinely quite happy, that the past is behind it. Everybody seems to be settled, everybody seems to be happy. And I think that's very, very important to the Queen.
With William back from his tour of duty in the Falklands, the Duke and Duchess were reunited. And life went back to normal in Anglesey. But as working members of the royal family, normality always includes some official duties.
Their next big set-piece event is a tour of the South Pacific. You can be sure it's going to be huge in terms of global attention. It won't just be us following them. There'll be media from all around the world. It'll be a very, very big event. After that, I suspect there might be a period of quiet and calm. They've both made it clear that in the immediate future, they want to continue their life as a serving services family.
Not bad for you, boy.
Probably at some point in 2013, that's when the Prince will decide his future with the RAF. It's when they will have to give up their private part of their lives, that part of life that they are so able to enjoy in Anglesey at the moment, and things will change.
Will they have a family? Well, it's speculation. Obviously, that's part of the plan.
I think we'll take it one step at a time. We'll sort of get over the marriage thing first and then maybe look at the kids.
As well as one day becoming parents, William and Catherine's future lies at the helm of our country.
They are our future king and queen consort. I think William and Catherine will be fantastic leaders.
I think looking ahead to William, I think there is a sense that it will be in quite safe hands.
They are an amazing couple who have just taken the nation's heart.
I think the reason that we've fallen in love with them so much is because they are genuinely in love.
You know, we're looking forward to spending the rest of our lives together and seeing what the future holds.
I think as a double act, we couldn't get much better, actually.
Well, it's nearly time once again to honour the good, evil and sexy of Soapland. Philip Schofield presents the British Soap Awards 2012, tomorrow night at 8. It's the story that hasn't been told before, next tonight on ITV1, The Hunt for Bin Laden.